friends, it's me. I'm back. What I wanted to share today was kind of a part 2 to the video I shared last week called Borrowed Time, and to talk a little bit about what happened after. So I had just to kind of summarize for those who missed that video, I had a near-death experience in 2010, and when I crossed over, I met Jesus, and he blessed me with the ability to come back and raise my children and nurture my marriage with my husband. But when I came back into the flesh, into my body, it wasn't all sunshine and roses from there on out. It was a very, very difficult journey that waited for me once I came back too. So the condition that, because I know some people may have some questions, the condition that I was diagnosed with is a rare primary immune deficiency. And it's called hereditary angioedema. And the hereditary part is because once the genetic damage has been done, it gets passed on at a 50-50 chance per child. So, and then the angioedema is swelling. But contrary to what most people think, it has nothing to do with allergies. It has nothing to do with the histamine system. So, after that happened, I was set up and trained to do my own IV medication. And so, thankfully, since August 2016, I haven't been hospitalized. I haven't had any swells that got out of control that required hospitalization. And I'm very grateful for the doctors, my immunologist at the time, and for being willing to get me the training I needed so that I was never stuck in that situation again where I had an attack that would be ignored for well over 24 hours in the hospital when it's supposed to be treated the second I walk in the door of the hospital. So because it's such a rare condition, and because most doctors don't understand the condition, and especially the pain that's involved, depending on what's swelling in the body. So anywhere that blood flows, swelling can happen, even in the bone marrow, joints, organs, brain. But the most common things that are affected are the face, like maybe an eye swelling shut or lips swelling up, tongue, throat. Most people who have hereditary angioedema have had at least one throat swell in their lives. 30% or 1/3 mortality from throat swells in people who are undiagnosed or untreated. So the diagnosis is not an easy one to cope with, and it was very disfiguring. And at the time, I was needing to do an IV sometimes twice a day to stay alive. So when I came through that near-death experience, it was not an easy walk forward. I was still dealing with that primary immune deficiency. I was still dealing with, I have a bruise on my forehead. I was still dealing with the pain and the swelling, and I was having to do the IVs at home. But when I came through that, something amazing had shifted within me. I was no longer in fear and in that desperate state of what's going to happen if I die. Because when you're faced with your mortality on a daily basis, it can be very, very, very stressful and cause severe anxiety. And the first year that I was diagnosed, or first 2 years, it was constant in and out of the hospital, and it was constant fear, not knowing, if I was going to wake up the next day, if my throat was going to swell shut in my sleep, or any of those things. It was a very scary time. But once I went through that experience and met Jesus and understood very much that this is not all there is. Suddenly that fear of what comes next, that fear of dying was gone. And I knew that the time that I'm here, I will be here exactly as long as Christ wants me to be. And my time will not be cut short. It'll be here as long as I'm meant to be here. And that piece of knowing that was absolutely transformational. And when I came through that, even though my physical body was still dealing with these illnesses and issues that I was dealing with, in my heart and in my spirit, I was at complete peace. And I was now trusting the Holy Spirit fully to lead me to what I needed in order to manage my condition and or heal. So what I didn't mention is that same year I was in a car accident, and so I was also dealing with severe mobility issues, needing a cane or a walker or scooter most of the time. And it was difficult, but I knew when I chose to come back that it wasn't going to be instantly healed. But God had a plan, and gradually over the coming years, one by one, things started to improve. I had dramatic, miraculous healing of some of the injuries from the car accident that were the most impactful for my mobility. And when that was healed, that was amazing. So in that coming couple of years, God led me to some natural treatments that reduced my need on medication and actually brought substantial healing. I mentioned at one point I was needing 2 IVs a day to stay alive, whereas now I might need, anywhere between 4 to 8 doses a year as opposed to 2 a day. So it's dramatic, and God led me exactly. I prayed about it and said, show me what I need to do. There has to be something that you've created that can deal with this. And so those supplements helped dramatically reduce those attacks. The other autoimmune condition, I was being disfigured with open blistering sores head to toe from a condition called pemphigus, which was part of the vaccine injury, and was nearly going septic a lot of the time. So each of these things were kind of playing off the other, because trauma or pain, injury can trigger the hereditary angioedema. So I know I'm kind of going into a lot of detail here, and maybe it's not necessary, but I was getting some questions, and I thought I would share a little bit more about what the injury was. So the main things, like I said, I had that primary immune deficiency, as well as the pemphigus, which is an autoimmune condition. So those, and then the car accident. So it was 3 things in a very short time. So yeah, I was dealing with that. The following year, I had suspected lung cancer with 10 nodules in my lungs. And so God, when I got that scan, they said they had the 10 nodules, and they said cancer grows really slowly, lung cancer. So they wanted to wait a full year to do a biopsy and another scan. And I took it in prayer, and by the time that year was up, all of the nodules were gone. My pemphigus was in complete remission and has stayed largely in remission. I've had 1 or 2 small attacks over the last 7 years with that. So a lot of this, by being at peace and not being in a state of fear, taking it in prayer to God, He showed me what I needed to do. And day by day, I began to heal. And so the healing happened in my heart and spiritually first, before the physical started to change. And so, like I said, bit by bit, things improved. And a few years ago, God did something miraculous to heal my mobility with my hip labrums, because they were torn, and they're not supposed to heal on their own. And that is the major thing. You know, my spine was injured, but my hip labrums were the hardest thing for mobility, and God healed that too, to the point where I no longer needed a wheelchair or a cane. So I still deal with chronic pain. I still have sometimes good days, bad days, but I take it all with joy. Even in the midst of the suffering, there is a joy, and God brings the relief when I need it the most, and has given me strength to manage these things and not let them hold me back from living a full life, and, you know, being able to now be in a position that even though I'm still dealing with some issues, God has given me the strength to manage those and manage it effectively. And I'm able to homeschool my children full time, and, you know, be able to serve others in the community and through this ministry and within the church I attend. So I'm very grateful for that. So like I said, it was quite the journey to healing, and it's still ongoing, and God may fully heal me of those things, or maybe he won't. That is his will, but I do believe that he wants all of us to be healed and well and whole. And if he doesn't heal this for me, it's because it's meant for me to use this to help others and to keep me humble. I used to joke that if I didn't have the health issues that I had, that my ego would be huge, and it's kept me humble. So that's kind of the gist of what's happened in the following 10 years since that happened. And, you know, my husband has stuck by me every step of the way, even during, you know, the most difficult times. He hasn't wavered, and, you know, he's had his own challenges and his own health issues, and I've been by his side as well. So I'm very grateful that the Father brought him into my life, and that I've had someone to stand by me through all of this. So he knows how much I love him, and I know how much he loves me. So very, very grateful. And, you know, it's hard when you're in the thick of that kind of suffering to find your blessings, to count your blessings. But it's so important. Even when we're disabled, even when we're ill, there's so much that God can use us for. And we can find so much peace and joy in the things that we can do. So I hope that kind of answers what happened next after that. And I'll talk a little bit further on another video about when I was baptized by the Holy Spirit. Very surprisingly, very shockingly, because that was not expected. So I'll save that for another video. Thanks so much. Have a great day.